is Q13 News at 11.
That there has been tear gas in the rotunda.
Now on Q13 News, lawmakers fear for their lives. Protesters take over the U.S. Capitol in an outcry over election results.
The destruction turns deadly.
As we kind of raced up to grab people and pull them back, they shot her in the neck, and she fell back on me.
Congress pledges to move forward in their mission to name the next president of the United States.
We've never been deterred before, and will be not deterred today.
This is Q13 News at 11. Well, much calmer scene tonight at the U.S. Capitol building after an unprecedented day for Congress and the country. A curfew is in effect right now for Washington, D.C. until 6 a.m. tomorrow, which is 3 a.m. our time. Right now, lawmakers are back inside the U.S. Capitol certifying the Electoral College votes. It's the final step in a winding road of challenges and election drama to officially make Joe Biden the next president. Thanks for joining us tonight at 11. I'm David Rose.
And I'm Jamie Tompkins. Congress continues to press forward well into the night to get through this process and put an end to a chaotic day.
To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house.
They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. They failed.
Q13's Brian Flores is live tonight with where things stand. Brian?
Yeah, Jamie, I think David said it best when he said the whole day seemed to be a winding road. On a day that is typically ceremonial, as you mentioned, Jamie, it has turned deadly. We'll start off with that. We understand the woman that was shot and killed reportedly by Capitol Police has been identified as a 14-year veteran of the Air Force. She's been identified as Ashley Babbitt, a resident of the San Diego area. 3 others have died as well, reportedly from some type of medical emergency. We're working to get more clarification on what happened there. But in terms of what's happening tonight, as we take a live look at the Capitol once again, as David mentioned, a much more secure scene, although there is a lot of questions tonight stemming from the preparations from Capitol Police security in lieu of today's events. But tonight, Capitol Police, FBI, Virginia State Police, National Guard all converged onto the Capitol. They set up a perimeter around the Capitol as lawmakers back at work certifying the Electoral College votes tonight. Earlier tonight, lawmakers did reject Republican objection to the Arizona Electoral College votes, and right now they are debating the state of Pennsylvania's Electoral College votes. But at this point, basically, it is a formality. These Electoral College votes will be certified sometime tonight. But bigger picture, overall, many of the lawmakers say today was just a dark day in American history.
Madam Speaker, the Vice President and the United States Senate.
The day started with ceremony and fierce debate over certifying the Electoral College votes.
In the United States, we abide by the choices of the people, not an elite few.
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
But as the vote was taking place, chaos at the Capitol from hardline Trump supporters. In the thick of it, Washington State Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, seen in this video, ducking down from the chamber balcony.
We were then asked to just remain there, but it was clear that there were more Capitol Police on the floor, and they started taking out all of the members on the main floor, but they weren't able to get to us.
Eventually, Jayapal and about a dozen others were taken to a safe, undisclosed location. Many point to the president's rally that incited the violence today.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing.
This is not dissent. It's disorder. It's chaos. It borders on sedition.
After protesters stormed the Capitol building, the president released a video urging peace. And while it's unclear how many were arrested or injured, one woman was killed during the uprising. Police continue to investigate. And again, just in case you're joining us, that woman who was killed today has been identified as Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran from the San Diego area. Again, we're continuing to wait the Electoral College vote certification. Lawmakers working on that, but the fallout continues really over the next few days. Reportedly, 4 White House staffers have already turned in their resignations. We're hearing tonight that National Security Advisor Matt Pottinger turned in his resignation today. And also several lawmakers, some in our area, including Representative Rick Larsen and Congresswoman Susan DelBene, are asking for the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would remove the president from office. We're live in King County tonight. I'm Brian Flores, Q13 News.
Representative Marilyn Strickland also talking about the terror inside the Capitol today.
When you are told to go on lockdown in a place like Washington, D.C., it does put some fear in you because this place is so secure to begin with. And so, we were very, very diligent about making sure our doors were locked and that we all notified our families that we were safe. So, yeah, of course it puts fear in you. And think about that. That's the point of terrorism, is to put fear in you.
Representative Strickland says even before the lockdown, they expected a long day in session because of the election challenges. She says there's still a lot of work to do, like coming up with a plan to get more relief to families and the national strategy to get out more COVID-19 vaccinations to people.
Well, President Trump is locked out of his Twitter account for a few more hours. The social media company deleted many of the president's tweets shortly after he posted this video asking protesters to go home.
It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people.
Well, Twitter says it would lock the president out permanently if he continued to violate Twitter rules. Facebook also took down the president's video. Congress is back to counting the Electoral College votes, one of which was signed by a local elector from Snohomish County.
He tells Q13's Jennifer Lee the violence on Capitol Hill serves as a lesson on the great need to protect democracy.
Weeks earlier in Olympia.
Next, I'd like to call on Jack Ahrens.
Jack Ahrens was part of casting the historic vote for president in the Electoral College.
I did so enthusiastically of my own choice. I did not need a law to tell me I had to do it.
But now, after seeing the attack on the U.S. Capitol building,
I was awakened from that dream like a glass of cold water thrown in my face.
The elector from Everett is nothing short of heartbroken.
It shattered all my illusions about America being above that kind of insurrection. It's not.
On Twitter, a U.S. senator from Oregon posting a picture saying the Electoral College ballots were rescued.
First, I applaud the bravery of those staffers for saving those ballots, one of which was mine. I remind you, one of them was signed by me.
Then after the U.S. Capitol was secured, Congress reconvened for the Electoral College certification. An associate professor of political science says lawmakers have until Inauguration Day to certify the votes.
It actually technically doesn't matter. The Electoral College has already voted. This is purely a ceremonial process.
In fact, Aaron says multiple copies of the ballots were made in every state before ever being sent off to D.C.
So the results of the vote would not have been destroyed. But the act of doing that, of destroying such documents, is just in itself repulsive and fully opposed to what we stand for.
But this 2020 presidential elector reminds us on what we as Americans do stand for, upholding the will of the voters and the Constitution.
The lesson here is we all have to guard democracy. We all have to be vigilant. And we can't place too much confidence in institutions that require the people who govern us to respect those institutions.
Let's get back to work.
Jennifer Lee, Q13 News.
Our coverage on Capitol Hill continues on Q13 News this morning. They will have the very latest on the Electoral College certification. And you can also keep up to date with our Q13 News app. Be sure to turn on the notifications, too. It's free to download in the App Store.
Well, a crowd of Trump supporters also made their voices heard in Olympia today. They demanded a recount of the presidential election and Washington's gubernatorial election, which Governor Inslee won by more than 500,000 votes. Now, the rally escalated after protesters broke through a gate at the governor's mansion, and dozens of people gathered on the lawn. State Patrol said the governor and his family were in a safe location at the time this was happening. Protesters say they're tired of feeling like their voices are not heard.
I feel, and I'm sure a lot of other patriots feel this way, that we're just being muzzled, and literally, by the mask, that I do not wear a mask either.
Governor Jay Inslee also released a video statement about what happened in Olympia.
What we saw breaching a gate and going into a secured area is not a respectful and dignified approach to free speech. It's an illegal act.
Officials with the State Patrol say there will be substantial law enforcement presence at the Capitol next week when the Washington State Legislature starts its regular session.
A major shift is coming to the U.S. Senate. Democrats won both Georgia Senate seats. Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock are the projected winners. The results will likely help President-elect Biden's agenda. Incumbent Kelly Loeffler isn't conceding just yet, and Republican David Perdue is pledging to exhaust every legal resource in his race. A top official with the Georgia Secretary of State's office says there was, quote, no evidence of irregularities. Well, the question on a lot of people's minds as we continue to fight this coronavirus pandemic. Will I get vaccinated? We're going to share the state's timeline coming up next.
And get ready for some dense fog to greet you not only tonight but tomorrow morning as the temperatures slowly start to drop. Freezing fog across parts of the passes. We'll talk more about those visibilities next.